Yo, what's up, everybody? And thank you for tuning in to another Tyler Perry Sistas review. If this is your first time coming to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning family member, then you already know what it is and what it always will be. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell somebody to tell somebody if you choose to. But if not, just sit back, relax while we get into this messy thing. Now, if you could tell by the thumbnail, this is a question that a lot of people are asking right now. Who killed Gary? But before we get into that, I just want to thank everybody who has sent me a DM, email throughout season 7 of Sistas. I am going to go back and try my best to answer everything that was sent to me in video form so we could kind of keep, the momentum going until season 8 comes. I'm still going to be dropping Sistas content until we make it back to that point. But back to the video, who killed Gary? And for me, I think the greater question is Gary really dead? Or is he yet alive? Gary is so evil and demonic. He's like that Chucky doll. Just because we saw a knife and a little blood splattered on his chest does not mean that Gary is gone. Gary is going to pop up, in my opinion, in season 8 just like this.
Sorry, Jack. Chucky's back.
I can see it. Everybody think he dead. Gary going to be like, psych, I'm still here. I get that vibe, but, we going to see what it is and what it's not. But let's just say for the sake of the video that Gary is indeed dead. So let's just kind of do our own investigative work to see who could have possibly done this. Now, many people believe that Hayden is the prime suspect. However, I don't necessarily believe that to be true. Now, does Hayden have the motive? Yes. Especially after he found out that Tamara and Gary has had a sexual relationship. But honestly, I don't believe that Hayden possesses the cojones to do such a thing. I honestly don't think he can pull it off. I know that he is emotional, he is irate, and he may not be thinking clearly, but I just don't believe that Hayden has it in him to do this. Number 2. Now, y'all. Now, I've been seeing across social media that many people believe that Karen is the culprit. I don't believe that at all. Sometimes I just feel like no matter what happens on this show, Karen is going to always be a prime suspect. It doesn't matter what it is. People are just going to throw her name out there just for the sake of throwing her name out there. Because I'm like, out of all the sisters, out of Sabrina, well, we're not going to count her. But Danny, you think that Karen would take out Gary before Danny would? Now, if Karen wasn't pregnant, I can see it. Okay, I ain't going to lie. I can see it because she's already threatened him before. However, it wasn't with the knife. It was with her gat-tat. So, no, I do not believe that Karen did this at all. That girl ain't killed nobody. Now, number 3, many folks, believe that Gary's death was the actions of Madam putting things into play. I can see that. I can see how people would think that, especially after Fatima called her about the situation, but I just don't take Madam to be this messy. And I don't mean messy as in, being petty. I just don't believe that this is the work of Madam, especially after how we have seen that character, do what she does on All the Queen's Men. I don't think that Madam would actually do it like this. I just don't. And Madam is also one of those people that Madam loves to make a scene. So if she was to actually walk up and on this scene and do this, she will let her presence be known. Madam is definitely not the type of person to do something and then hide within the shadows of darkness. That's just not her MO, in my personal opinion. Now, number 4. Now, this is my own personal bias, but I can see this, okay? Jasmine. I really want Jasmine to be the person to take out Gary. I have always liked the character of Jasmine, and I actually miss seeing Jasmine across our screen, and I believe that it would be poetic justice if she was the person who took Gary out. One can only imagine the absolute and utter hell, okay, that woman endured while she was with Gary. That's why I did not feel any type of compassion nor sympathy when Jasmine was trying to take Gary for all he was worth. I didn't care. He deserved everything she was giving him. And then when I think about it on a personal note, Gary was her husband. Gary cheated. Gary left her for Andy, left her by her lonesome to raise what she had like 3 of his children, one who was severely autistic, and you just left this woman and your children for Andy. Like, that still doesn't make sense to me. Like, what the hell was Andy giving you instead of a blowjob every morning at 6 a.m.? I mean, was it that good to leave your family? It's just, Gary has been diabolical from season 1, episode 1, from the very beginning. In the beginning, there was a man named Gary Borders. Gary Borders was fine and chocolate with a nice body, but he was a demon. That's how I'm going to address Gary from this point on. But no, it's like, he was her husband. And even though Jasmine was a little touched, I think sometimes people overlook the fact that she was his wife. She was married to this man. She told Andy everything that Gary was going to do to her. So even though, Jasmine had her way, she, in a sense, was trying to protect and warn Andy about what was to come for her. So in a sense, a lot of these women on this show they were warned from the previous women who dated these men that they're in relationships with, and they just chose to ignore. But I really wish that it's Jasmine who did it so we could see her again. Number 5, Penelope for me. Penelope is a prime suspect as well, even though we know that homegirl is in protective custody, which has been the most Fisher-Price protective custody I have ever seen in my life. Because this girl was making phone calls almost every episode as if she was out living life fancy-free instead of being caged in that hotel room. Now, it would also be poetic justice if Penelope took out Gary because he took life from her. And I think that, this is not a dig to the writers, but there are certain things that happen that, when these situations happen, no, you can't control it, but it's like to just sit in it for a while. The fact that the audience knew that Penelope lost her baby, and even when she, explained it to Andy, and even when Gary told Andy, that he made, Penelope lose his baby and she would be next. The sheer evil one has to possess to know that you took life from this woman. It was your child and it did not affect you in any way. Gary is a straight psychopath. Like, straight up and down narcissistic psychopath. And I really wish we could have seen a little bit more of that story when it came to Penelope and her losing this child and processing that instead of just, throwing her in a hotel room. But, we can't do anything about that. So I would be rooting for my girl if she was able to somehow escape protective custody, which I don't think would be a hard thing to do since she been making phone calls every darn episode. But, that would be my hope, that it was Penelope who did it. And I think for me, that's where the suspect, lineup ends. I don't think it was any of the sisters. I do not believe that it was Fatima nor Zach or anything like that. But what I will say is I do believe that it was a woman who did this. And the reason why I say it was a woman is because the way they decided to, take out Gary was with a knife. And normally when a person is stabbed, that is a personal attack. It's normally not from a stranger or someone who just didn't know him, but maybe from someone who he hurt physically, emotionally, who they feel he did, them dirty. So I kind of get that vibe from it, but it's going to be very interesting to see who actually, had enough nerve and courage to do this to Gary. Now, writers, please don't drag us 22 episodes in season 8 to find out who did what to Gary. All right. At the most, episode 2. We need to find out, 1, for sure, if this man is no longer breathing. Okay. And number 2, who did this to him? Because we want to send them, a basket. We would like to send them a token of love, send them a donation of some sort for taking him, off of the Sistas universe, even though I will miss my man Cheeto. Cheeto, you're different. Gary, we can't stand. You, that's a totally different story, baby. But on behalf of the fandom, Gary just got to go, even though I'm gonna miss him and all the humor he brought to this evil character. But yeah, I believe it was a woman. I believe it was a woman who did it. But I am interested in seeing who punched the clock on Gary and took him up out of here. So until next time, I want to thank you guys for listening, and y'all be safe out there. One.